And welcome to another special edition of the Edward Jones Chatting Cage right here live on MLB.com. FanFest continues in full force out in Cincinnati. Right now we send it down to our very own JB as he is standing by with a former two-time All-Star pitcher. JB, take it away.
Thank you so much. This is the Edward Jones Chatting Cage. I am JB again in Cincinnati at FanFest. Al Leiter.
How you doing, JB?
I'm good, Al. How are you?
Excellent, excellent.
You know, Normally when we have to do these chatting cages, I don't get to hang out. I'm watching screens. This is great. I like being around you guys.
Yeah, this is good. And how great is this? And last night's home run derby. Woo! Really? Todd Frazier, the clock. I love the idea. A little bit shorter. Was able to really get timing, everything about it. I thought it was excellent.
It did. I got to say, early results on the new format seem to be universally appreciated.
Well, I think, right, aren't we in the day and age of just wanting it to move? Whatever we're doing, you want the action to move a little bit quicker. Yeah. So I think last night it achieved that. I think the clock idea was cool.
Yeah.
The second round with Frazier having to hurry up in the last, literally beat the clock. I mean, that was cool.
The drama was definitely intensified, I think, and that's what we all like. That's what you want out of a derby. It's one event, one night.
Yep.
This is the Edward Jones Chatting Cage. I'm JB. That's Al Leiter. If you have a question for Al Leiter and you can hear my voice right here in FanFest, join us on the stage and ask the question. If you're online, get your webcam fired up. In the meantime, I will go to the Twitter questions we have. So I'm not being rude. I'm actually, on the line doing things. This is from @JJ Do you root for the AL or the NL in the All-Star game?
Yeah. It's weird for me because I was drafted by the Yankees. I got to the big leagues. I debuted. Your debut and your first team, that's the most dear in your heart. Yeah. To this day, I spent 19 seasons in the big leagues, and my mom, and I experienced some World Series and threw a no-hitter and all that. She said her best time watching her son was my debut at Yankee Stadium. Yeah. And, so that's near and dear. Played in Toronto for 7 years, went to the Marlins, won a World Series, played with the Mets for 7 years. Truthfully, I know I sound like a politician right now, but I kind of root for baseball. I have a son who's 15. He likes baseball players. Yeah. I don't know if that's a good thing. I think rooting for a team, here in Cincinnati, you see the passionate fan base. So my answer is I don't root for neither.
That's a fair answer, and well said.
I'm reluctant to say it because I love the sport, but I'm neither.
Yeah. And the experience of being on both sides of it, that's a true thing. It's not a made-up politician.
Listen, I got a chance to play with Paul Molitor, the manager now with the Twins, and once upon a time when there was a distinct line between American League and National League, and there was no joke, American League umpires had the AL hat, the NL hat. Right. There was a difference in the league. You didn't have interleague. There was a difference back then. And then I can tell you, JB, growing up as a Mets fan, I rooted for the National League.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, there we go. No, evolution.
But that was a kid.
Okay. No, that's what I like that you grew up. Yeah. Tiffany has a live fan right here in front of us.
Okay.
Yes. What's your name and where are you from?
Dan from Cincinnati, Ohio.
And what's your question for Al?
Al, you talked about the passionate fans in Cincinnati, so this is a loaded question for you. 1999. What are your memories from that one-game playoff?
I remember that I was getting heckled beyond belief. The old Synergy Stadium, or Riverfront, as I'd like to refer to it. So in 1999, those of you who don't know, it was a one-game playoff. We were sitting at the Diamond Club at Shea Stadium, waiting to find out if the Reds won or lost in Milwaukee, and if they won, we ended up having to fly to Cincinnati for a one-game playoff. It was listen. I had a chance to be in a few World Series, and I did some pretty cool stuff. But that one game was one of my highlights. It was a raucous crowd. It was, and I ended up throwing a good game. Years later, that's in '99. In 2005, Jack McKeon is my manager. I'm 40, and my career's done, or winding out. And I wasn't very good. And all Jack used to keep saying with his little cigar in his mouth, "Leiter, why can't you throw like you did against me in '99?" He went. I said, "Jack, I don't know. I'm 40 now. Trust me, I'm trying." That was 6 years ago. It was a big moment, and I'll tell you what. Honestly, that night, and I know it was a night game. It was an ESPN night game. The crowd was unbelievable.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Great. He really just wanted that apology all these years later.
Exactly right.
That's like you're like 150 today. That's hey later.
Thanks so much for the fans here at FanFest. We are the Edward Jones Chatting Cage, which means fans can join us via webcam, as we have a fan right now. What's your name? Where are you from? What's your question for Al?
My name's Adine. I'm from Stamford, Connecticut, and I was wondering, what was your reaction when you realized you'd be pitching Game 1 in a Yankees-Mets World Series?
Huge thrill. I started with the Yankees, didn't do much, got traded for Jesse Barfield in a circuitous route. It's 12, 13 years later. I'm getting a chance to play with the Mets, and Game 1, Andy Pettitte, Yankee Stadium. I really enjoyed that. Having the in-league or in-season Subway Series was cool.
Yeah.
But this was another level. I think it was 47 years earlier.
Something like
when
that.
the Brooklyn Dodgers and the Yankees played. I embraced it. I still think if we win Game 1, we win the World Series. That was a heck of a bat by Paulie O'Neill. And we lost in extra innings. And ultimately, Game 5.
It just went the way it went.
Even though we lost, and again, it's all about winning. A team like the Mets in 2000, JB, we were talented, but we weren't the most talented. Yeah. And I'm intrigued by the next level, level of statistical analysis with sabermetrics. That it's hard to quantify what teams like that we had, team chemistry, guts, heart, what's going on in between your ears. Not a statistic. And that team had it, JB, in 2000.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
I watched it. I was in New York, watched it very closely, and I agree with you. There's an amazing depth of statistics now, but there's still a magic. There's still a thing you can't quantify and never can. Just in life.
A good scout knows the it.
There you go.
And it's not on paper. It's not.
It's not. We have another great conversation. What's your Tiffany? I don't want to do your job, Tiffany. I apologize.
Thank you. What's your name and where are you from?
My name's Daniel, and I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. You've had a lot of accolades in your career. You got to win the World Series. You've thrown a no-hitter. You played in All-Star games. What's been your favorite out of everything? Was it, actually pitching the no-hitter, or what was the biggest for you?
All right, so I think not the no-hitter. The no-hitter was kind of weird. It was we blew out the Rockies that night. We won 11-0. It wasn't compelling to the very end, other than as to whether I would eventually strike out Eric Young for the no-hitter, which was awesome. It's part of my history. But I would say getting the win in 1993 against the Phillies in relief of Game 1 of the World Series when I was with the Blue Jays, even though it was, I think it was an inning, but it was what I went through leading up to that. Because I had 2 surgeries, one in '89, one in '91. I went back and got my college degree. I thought I was done. Got a Series 7. Thought I was going to become a broker. And to have all of that, to work and ultimately get back and win a game in a World Series when I thought I was done. And even though it was a relief, 1 inning, whatever, came in relief of, I think, Dave Stewart or somebody. That moment, standing on home plate, doing some interviews at Skydome, now Rogers Center, was really kind of a
Thank you.
A great moment shared by you, and thank you for that. And that leads us to the EDJ question of the day. It feels like I feel like now if you have your Series 7, we should talk about something else Edward Jones related, but I won't. It's the EDJ question of the day. Of your 2 All-Stars, the moment that really you hold dear, like it's really close to your heart.
I'm still mad at Derek Jeter. I got Derek an MVP in 2000 in the World Series because he peppered me, and he got a game-winning hit, base hit, little up the middle in 2000. But my moment was this. In 1996, it was my first All-Star selection. Bobby Cox was the manager, and like today, Bochy and Ned Yost will go across the roster and say, you've got first inning, you got second, you're pitching third, you're not pitching. He'll set it up.
Right.
I wasn't going to pitch that day, and I was fine with it. It was in Philadelphia. We win. Bobby Cox calls down in the 9th inning, gets Bobby Dews, his longtime bench coach or bullpen coach. Mark Wohlers is going to close it out, his closer.
Yep.
Bobby Dews gives me the phone and says, Bobby Cox wants to talk to you. I pick up the phone. He said, Al, you want to pitch? I'm like, Bobby, that would be great. He goes, hurry up, warm up. I'll let Wohlers get 2 outs, and you get the last out. Totally cool. He didn't have to do it. I appreciated it. It was when it didn't count,
Right.
so, whatever. And I started rocket firing at the old Veterans Stadium. Sure enough, Willers gets the first 2 outs. I come in and get the last out.
That's awesome.
I'm telling you, it was only 1 out, but what the class of Bobby Cox, of allowing me to play, I was like, awesome, thank you. And I thank him to this day. Every time that I saw him, I thanked him.
Little things that make managers very special. Those are the kinds of things. How far they're thinking about everybody they're coaching and dealing with. Amazing stuff. Tiffany.
Hi, what's your name and where are you from?
Jason from Connersville, Indiana.
And what's your question for Al?
Who's the one hitter that you hated to see come into the batter's box?
All right, it wasn't the big guy. The bigger you were, the more extension you got, the better I was. I was a guy that cut a lot of righties in. So the home run guys, the McGuires and the Sosas and the Bonds, I liked them. Mark McLemore, although Rafael Palmeiro was a pain in the neck. Tony Gwynn would hit the ball hard. The scouting report against Tony Gwynn was make sure the 2 guys in front of him weren't on base, and Tony was going to hit the ball hard somewhere. He generally wasn't a home run hitter, and he wasn't very fast. That was how I approached him. I think Mark McLemore, his numbers are off the chart. Utility kind of middle infield guy, nice player, played a long time. He peppered me. He was a pain in the neck. The smaller, we were talking on our show yesterday about that. It was John Smoltz going to Hall of Fame, Pedro, and we were talking about, certain lineups and who gives you more trouble. And it's the pesky guy, the Altuves or Placido Blancos, and those type of hitters. Craig Biggio was a pain in the neck. Just fight you, put the ball in play. That's why the strikeout thing, to me, it drives me nuts. Unless you truly have the ability to hit 30 to 40 plus home runs, and therefore then, okay, I see why you don't compensate and shorten up your swing on 2 strikes. But if you don't have that ability, put the ball in play. So much can happen. And it's a nuisance, right? Ball, ground ball, base hit. Yeah. Did I answer it?
Yeah.
That's good.
Little guys.
I really appreciate that answer because we work with McLemore all the time, so I'll be able to. Al called you a little guy and pesky.
No, don't say that.
it's catchy.
Yeah, that's right. Mac does this.
He's good. Mac's a great
Good guy.
And that's awesome. Totally great guy. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed it. That's a very special edition. And folks that are here, how about a big round of applause for Al Leiter?
Thank you.
Such a great guy. And that wraps up another session of the Edward Jones Chatting Cage. We'll see you next time.